Well, good afternoon, everyone. Our legislative work before November has now been officially done, and today the House did the necessary thing. We took the initiative and passed a clean, narrow 3-month CR to prevent the Senate from jamming us with another bloated bill. While continuing resolutions are never ideal, none of us like them. It's not a way to run a railroad. It allows Congress to continue serving the American people through the election. This is not the House's fault, it's the Senate's fault. They passed not a single appropriations bill, so there was nothing for the two chambers to negotiate in the end, and there was no agreement on the top-line spending number. So we had no choice. But I want to assure everyone, and I've said this multiple times this week, we are not going to return to the Christmas omnibus spending tradition, and that's a commitment I've made to everyone. As part of this effort, we are providing Donald Trump with the protection that he needs in the face of dangerous threats of would-be assassins and terrorist regimes like Iran. That is a new spending amount in the CR, $231 million. It will be dedicated to the protection of presidential candidates, and it is limited to that, and it is contingent upon the Secret Service's complete cooperation with our oversight investigations over these assassination attempts. Our focus now turns exclusively to November 5th. Our members are now all returning to their districts. They'll be working through their districts until the election, and they'll be making their case to the voters. And from our perspective, I think it's obvious that the contrast is very clear. House Republicans have fought hard here. You have all seen it. You've watched it day by day. To secure the border, protect American elections from non-citizen voting, to protect Americans from criminals, to combat the Biden-Harris anti-American energy agenda, to counter China, Iran, and Russia. And we have conducted crucial oversight. We impeached Secretary Mayorkas. We held Merrick Garland in contempt. We combated anti-Semitism on college campuses. We have worked hard to hold the administration accountable for the failed Afghanistan withdrawal. We fought the woke, wasteful, and weaponized agenda of the Biden-Harris administration, and we investigated not just one, but 2 assassination attempts on the president's life, President Trump's life, and that work continues in earnest even today. And right now, the American people need us more than ever. Under the Biden-Harris administration, the American people are struggling. Their disastrous economic policies are crushing American families. Their weakness on the world stage has emboldened our adversaries, and the world is quite literally on fire. Crime is rising in cities across the country. Terrorists, criminals, and drugs are flowing across our border and terrorizing our communities. We just have 41 days left until this very fateful election, and we're going to continue fighting tirelessly for America's families. We're going to grow the majority here in the House. We are going to get President Trump reelected to the White House, and we are going to win the Senate on the other side of the Capitol. And we can hit the ground running and deliver for the American people on day one of President Trump's second term, and that day cannot get here soon enough. I'll take a few questions.
Mr. Speaker, do you commit to not putting any omnibus on the floor come December?
I've said very clear we're not going to return to the omnibus tradition. We worked very hard to break that tradition. As you know, we broke it into minibuses in the last time. We've got to build back muscle memory to run Congress the way it's supposed to run, and the Republicans are committed to doing that. So this will be a very important step, and we'll see what happens in December. My encouragement to my Senate colleagues is to do your work. Bring some appropriations bills to the floor and pass them so that we can all work together to get this job done. Chad.
You served on the weaponization committee here. There was a supposition made today by Michael Forbes, the Inspector General for DOJ, that there may have in fact been covert federal agents in the crowd at the Capitol prior to the riot. Do you know anything about that, and what do you make of that if that's in fact true, which he intimated could be in fact in his report?
I heard that on the floor just now. I've had a busy couple of days, but that is an alarming bit of information. Obviously, we will be digging into it further, and I'll be requesting classified briefings on that. If that is indeed the case, we got to get down to the bottom of that immediately.
Mr. Speaker, what odds on the way that you feel about Republicans keeping the majority, and what odds would you put on?
Oh, I'm very bullish about November. I've been traveling the country nonstop. Some of you know what I've been doing. I've done campaign events in 207 cities across 39 states so far, and I have a everyday full agenda all the way through the election. What I'm seeing around the country is a real energy on the ground. I don't think the polling is even accurately reflecting that, but even the polling, almost all the polls favor the House Republicans to keep and grow the majority. So I expect a very strong November. I'm convinced we're going to win the Senate as well, and I believe Donald Trump's going back to the White House. I would be a fool to project a certain number of seats, but let me just say I'm very optimistic. I mean, we have, I'll just say this, we have extraordinary candidates in the field to flip some of these seats from blue to red and to fill the open seats. And it's, at the end of the day, it's not about the quantity of the cash, it's the quality of the candidate. And the people that we have out making the case and providing answers are providing it in the right tone and with great credibility, and so it has just really been resonated well, I think, with the American people.
Are you intent to move forward as Speaker, even if or as Republican leader, even if you guys can't hold the House?
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I believe we're going to hold the House, and I intend to be the Speaker in the new Congress. I think continuity is going to be very important. I mean, we're laying out a very aggressive agenda for the first 100 days. I believe we'll have unified government, and so there will be a lot of responsibility upon us. So we don't put the cart before the horse, but we have to be prepared to lead, and we will. And I intend to lead this group into the next Congress.
Any comment on the tweet that Clay Higgins put out today about Haitians?
I heard about that on the floor just now as well. Clay Higgins is a dear friend of mine and a colleague from Louisiana, and a very frank and outspoken person. He's also a very principled man. And I think he tweeted. I didn't even see it, but he tweeted something today about Haitians, and he was approached.
By January 20th,
Okay. Well, look, he was approached on the floor by colleagues who said that was offensive. He went to the back. I just talked to him about it. He said he went to the back and he prayed about it and he regretted it and he pulled the post down. That's what you want a gentleman to do. I'm sure he probably regrets some of the language he used, but we move forward. We believe in redemption around here.
Are you
You
confident?
also called on President Zelensky to fire Ambassador Markarova.
I did.
Could you explain this and also tell what if she wouldn't be fired?
Well, listen, I sent a letter to President Zelensky today because the ambassador crossed the line, and I think she involved him in that. They made a campaign stop on behalf of the Democratic Party and effectively have given a tacit endorsement to Kamala Harris. That's not what we need our allies to be doing, or any foreign nation. I think it's election interference, and I think it's an unforgivable trespass, and I think the ambassador needs to take responsibility for that and be terminated. So I asked him to do that immediately, and I think that's an important request.
Are you confident in your ability to stay Speaker if you do keep the majority? There's been colleagues that have been outspoken against you. Are you confident they can have
Yeah,
those
look, I believe in a healthy contest if it comes to that, but look, we have had, by all admission, this has been one of the most complicated speakerships in the history of the Congress. I mean, Newt Gingrich posted an op-ed 5 months ago in the Washington Times and said, Johnson has the most challenging speakership since the Civil War. And I called him and I said, Newt, are you trying to encourage me? He said, no, did you read the rest of it? I said, you're doing an excellent job. It's just the jobs become impossible. And they talked, everybody's recognized, y'all all have written about the historically small margin that we had, the smallest in U.S. history for about 5 months, 1 vote margin. So I think we navigated some very difficult terrain and unprecedented challenging times, and we got through it, and we're going to win the election cycle because of that. And so I intend, having been forged through that fire and developed that leadership, I intend to offer my services for that going forward. So we'll see what happens.
The president will be here in the Capitol tomorrow. Will you meet with him? And if not, are you not meeting with him because of his trip to Pennsylvania?
No, I wasn't able to schedule a meeting with Zelensky this week because I had a very busy one, as you all might have noticed, and I don't even think I'll be in town now tomorrow. So, but look, what I would have communicated to him if we sat down, we would have talked about this letter about the ambassador. I think it was a very terrible development, and it strains the relations between the two nations at a time that's very unfortunate for Ukraine. So I regret that.
Is that a threat to stop funding?
No, I'm not making any threats. I mean, I'll leave my comments to the content of the letter, which I know you've all seen, but I do think it requires immediate attention and action, and I think you should terminate the ambassador and move forward with somebody who understands the appropriate lines for our allies to regard. We're in the middle of a hotly contested national election, and we don't need foreign countries intervening and letting their opinions be heard at a time like this. I've expressed the same to our allies around the world, all that I've talked to. Americans should decide American elections without foreign interference. That's a really important principle. Anything else?
Should Biden rule the ambassador as persona non grata as well?
I'm not sure what Joe Biden's going to do. I wouldn't expect any action on his part. He hasn't done a whole lot.
Would you call on Zelensky to fire him? Would you call on Biden and do something about him as well?
I'm not sure Biden has any responsibility over the Ukrainian ambassador, but I hope that he would echo my concerns, and I think everybody should. So, thank you.
Thank you all so much.
But they sent the German people from the Pentagon.